One small habit completely changed how AWS felt for me. Not a certification, not a new tutorial, a habit. And I wish I had learned it so much earlier. Before this habit, AWS felt heavy. Every single time I opened the console, I felt unsure and a little overwhelmed. I was putting in the hours, going through the courses, and following the guides, but I just did not feel confident. It felt like I was treading water in a massive ocean of services and acronyms. I was learning, but that crucial feeling of competence, of actually knowing what I was doing, just wasn't there. Looking back, I can see exactly what I was doing wrong. I was rushing. I was caught up in the idea that I had to touch every single service, from EC2 to Lambda to SageMaker. I was constantly looking at what other people were learning on LinkedIn or Twitter and feeling like I was falling behind. This created a sense of urgency that was completely counterproductive. It made everything feel scattered and disconnected in my mind. I was collecting puzzle pieces but had no idea how to put them together. This is a feeling I think most beginners have. AWS felt confusing, and I honestly thought the problem was me. I thought maybe I wasn't smart enough or technical enough to really get it. This is the exact point where so many people who are new to AWS start to doubt themselves. They hit this wall of complexity and think, this is just too much, and maybe even consider giving up. It's a very common but isolating feeling. Then, after months of this struggle, something finally clicked. It wasn't a complex technical insight or a new, shiny tool. It was a simple realization about my own process. I was learning AWS, but I was not building habits. I was treating my learning sessions like a sprint, not a long-term practice. So, the habit that changed everything for me was this. I stopped leaving my AWS sessions messy. It's that simple. Every single time I finished practicing, I made it a rule to clean up my environment. I would terminate the EC2 instances I launched, delete the S3 buckets I created, and remove the EM roles that were no longer needed. I started naming things properly with a clear convention, so I knew exactly what Dev Web Server 01 was for. And most importantly, before I logged out, I would take just 2 minutes to review what I had created. I know, this sounds incredibly boring. It doesn't sound as impressive as building a serverless application or passing a specialty certification. It's the digital equivalent of tidying your room. But I promise you, this small, seemingly mundane habit fundamentally changed how AWS felt for me. Here's what this habit actually does. It creates clarity. When you consistently clean up your environment, you start to remember what you built and why you built it. You understand the life cycle of your resources. You stop fearing the console because it's no longer a cluttered, confusing space filled with forgotten things that might be costing you money. Instead, it becomes a clean, organized workspace that you control. This works so well because AWS, as a platform, rewards structure. When your environment is clear and organized, your thinking becomes clearer too. The relationships between services start to make more sense. You're not just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. You're intentionally building, reviewing, and deconstructing. That is the exact moment when learning AWS becomes so much easier. Suddenly, I felt calmer using AWS. The constant low-level anxiety was gone, not because I magically knew everything, but because I trusted my environment. I knew what was running, why it was running, and where to find it. That control is a huge source of confidence. Most people skip this step. They chase progress. They want to move fast, finish the next tutorial, and add another skill to their resume. They try to build a skyscraper without laying a solid foundation first. But slow, consistent habits will always beat fast, chaotic progress in the long run. These small, repeated actions are what build real, lasting confidence over time. And the best part is that this habit scales with you. As you start working with more complex architectures and bigger projects, this simple practice of keeping things organized becomes even more critical. It prevents your environment from becoming an unmanageable mess. What starts as a simple personal habit becomes the foundation for professional best practices. So if AWS feels overwhelming to you right now, please know that you are not late and you are not behind. You are most likely just missing structure in your learning process. One habit truly changed everything for me, not because AWS itself changed, but because how I approached it changed. Clarity in AWS doesn't come from rushing to learn more faster. It comes from the simple, deliberate habits you repeat every single day. And that is what finally changed everything for me.